All right, I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. We are meeting in a hybrid format with some of us here at Casco Bay and some people online. Board Member Noor will not be with us tonight, and Vice Chair Bondo should be joining us shortly via Zoom. So let's go ahead and establish our quorum. Dr. Warren, are you ready to call the roll?
All right. Ali. Member Ali not here. Okay. Member Yusra Ali.
Here.
Vice Chair Bondo. Member Bryden.
Here.
Member Lena.
Here.
Member Noor. Member Opperman.
Here.
Student Representative Fitzgerald. Student Representative Kantiba. Student Representative Lee. Student Representative O'Brien.
Here.
Student Representative Ziegler. Chair Lentz.
Present. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Great. Vice Chair Bondo has just joined us. The Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. And a practice that we're going to lean back into is having different voices read the mission and the vision. The mission, the vision, and our definition of equity. So Board Member Lena, if you wanted to go ahead and do that.
Our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup.
Thank you. And before we move to public comment, I just wanted to let the board know that because tonight is mostly going to be executive session, we asked students that they didn't have to come tonight if they had other things that were pressing. Caroline has still opted to be here because she is committed. Appreciate that. But just wanted to let folks know why there's low attendance on that side of the room. And so now we're going to move into public comment. If there's anybody that would like to give public comment, you can come up to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. I won't go over the guidelines if there's no one here to give public comment. So I'll give it just another couple of beats. Beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. And I just need to double check. Do we have everyone that we need for executive session? Or should I do my remarks first, do you think?
You do for the first session.
Okay, great. That will be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and then move us into a series of executive sessions. Once those are complete, we'll move into our regularly scheduled business meeting. So up first, I have a motion on the floor to enter executive session pursuant to 1 MRS 4056E for consultation with legal counsel concerning legal rights and duties of the Portland School Department. So is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. All those in favor? Great. So that was unanimous, Dr. Warren. So now the board is going to move into executive session in the room that we usually go to. Just just have to kind of move from Zoom to Google and back to Zoom. Okay, so we are back and we are out of our first executive session. And next up, I'm going to be bringing a motion to the floor to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRS 4056A for consideration of a personnel matter. Is there a second? Board Member Opperman, all those in favor? All right, this is unanimous with Vice Chair Bondo. So now we're going to move back into the executive session room, and we'll be back after. Great, thank you all. So I'm going to bring a motion to the floor based on our executive session, and that motion is to hold a hearing pursuant to section 13202 of Title 20A of the Maine Revised Statutes, a meeting of the Board of Public Education on a date to be determined to determine whether there are sufficient grounds to dismiss an employee under applicable Maine law. Would there be a second for this motion? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions from the board on this motion? There is no public comment on personnel issues. So with that, I would ask Dr. Warren to call the roll, please.
Member Ali.
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor. Member Opperman.
Yes.
I'm skipping the student representatives. They're gone. Chair Lentz.
Yes. So the votes are unanimous with those here in person, with those present voting in the affirmative. So board, we will be in touch about the date on that hearing. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move us into my remarks. I want to wish you all a very happy new year and hope that everyone in the district has a lovely break and some time for some rest. As we move into this new year, there's a couple of things I wanted to flag for the board and the community. First, next Monday, we're going to be having a joint workshop with the City Council to hopefully get consensus on the language and concepts held within the ethics ordinance. I've given a couple of updates on this as we've been working with City Council for almost a year now on this ordinance that was passed by voters in 2022. All board members have been asked to attend this meeting, as it will likely be the only time that the council and the board will be able to be in open discussion about this ordinance. So please plan to be there. It will be in person at City Hall. On December 1st, from 10 to 3, the board will be holding a retreat to continue to work on our alignment and practices as a body, as well as taking a deep dive into the budget. And then finally, I just wanted to notice to everyone that there is a special election for an at-large seat, formerly Board Member Grant's seat, that will be taking place on June 5th. Nomination papers are actually now available for that seat. And this term will be a 6-month term. So whoever runs for that seat will need to run again in November. Any interested candidates who would like to serve as a school board at-large member for the 3-year term would then take out nomination papers again in June. As someone who's done the 2-term turnaround, it is a lot of signatures, but you get to meet a lot of people. So if you are interested in running for that seat, please feel free to reach out to any of us for more information. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent for his remarks.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody has had a good start back to the school year after a nice, relaxing winter break. It's been good to be in a couple of schools and just to see students back in classrooms and to see everybody pick back up where we left off. And so that's been a great start back to the year. Just one quick update that the board is aware of, but just sharing for public awareness before I welcome up Dr. Atkinson-Duena to do the elementary school update. Just before break, we did receive a notification of a resignation of our executive director of finance. And so we have started a national search for the replacement for Helene DiBartolomeo. And so we are going through that process. That search is being led by Alma Advisory Group. That is the same group that did the superintendent search. And so if you're happy with the results of that, hopefully that feels good and reassuring. And if you're not happy with that, well, I'm sorry, because we went with them again because of their familiarity. They have experience with both Portland as well as doing a number of other financial officer searches. And so they've been searching for or building the pool for the last couple of weeks. We anticipate doing interviews, starting the interviews really in February. And so if you map that out, we're still several months from filling this. When we did this search the last time, it was right when I first got here, and it was a very localized search. And so this time we're expanding it to a national, so that we're finding somebody with sort of like that level of experience. And so I will keep the board and the public just informed as we go along. While we are in that spot, we've made a couple of adjustments on the finance team. So one is I am dedicating more of my time on the finance. And so we will see that that does have some impact. And so the cabinet's aware. And so they are shifting a little bit of their own work just to make up for that. And I'm spending more time filling in on the finance team. And I call myself the interim CFO. That is certainly giving myself more credit than is due, but I'm helping out there as a bookkeeper, basically. And so where possible, helping out. We have an individual, Lisa Beck, who returned to the district about a month ago as the purchasing manager. Lisa Beck is a phenomenal talent that Portland Public Schools is extremely lucky to have. She'd been with the district for a couple of years and left about a year ago to take on a personal adventure, and was the purchasing manager before and returned and was interested in a new intellectual challenge. And so she's signed up as the as the payroll manager now. And so is leading that really important work. And so just a big thank you to her. And then we have a number of people that I'll actually have join us at our budget overview or the community forum in February, so you can meet the whole finance team and that. But so Lisa and her shift into payroll was one adjustment. The second is just to make sure that we had enough capacity. We did bring on a temporary employee onto the finance team. They started on December 23rd to provide support. There'll be a temp for probably a couple of months to just provide capacity, particularly focused around payroll. And then we signed a small consulting contract of $50,000 that was designed to make sure that in Helene's transition, we were documenting some key processes so that we made sure that we did not lose them in the transition. And so that contract was for a very short time, but around some key pieces. And so that work was sort of captured during that time, but the documentation is ongoing. And so that is pieces. We're now in a spot where I feel that we'll have just some natural sort of transitional pieces that go along with any transition, but I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at with this, and that we'll continue the work, and I will update you along the way if there's anything that comes up, either where we need more support to make sure that we don't have any sort of hiccups, especially as we've made progress in these areas, and we'll certainly keep the finance committee as well, but I don't anticipate any big pieces. And so the work should continue as we are and as we have been doing. So that is that piece. Assuming there's no specific questions around finance, I'd like to invite up Dr. Atkinson-Duena to share our monthly update on the work in the elementary schools.
I want to double check that there aren't any questions. So does anyone have any questions about the update given by the superintendent? And I will just say just a reminder to board members to continue to read the updates that we get on a weekly basis, because there is more granular information that comes out in those. All right, Dr. Atkinson-Duena, take it away.
All right, thank you. It's a little cold in here, so if I if I shiver, you know why. I am presenting to you this month just some December highlights. I want to provide an introduction to social emotional learning and also our work to update the social emotional learning curriculum at the elementary level, and also let you know of some upcoming events and ways that you can contribute or join our community. So first, for December, I'd just like to highlight and thank our elementary garden community coordinators. So we have 9 garden coordinators that are supported by a community partner, Cultivating Community, and they are supported with stipends from the Elmina B. Sewell Foundation. Just want to give a thank you to them. The gardens are all closed up for the winter, but we had a great fall season, and they will be back in the spring. The other thing I just want to another highlight was Talbot's December community dinner that had standing room only, and so they were really very excited to see so many people come out from that. And then East End's December community dinner it was a focus on math, and want to thank our federal grants that some of those funds made it possible for families to take home a Shut the Box game. All schools were provided Shut the Box games through Title I funds. Anyway, but East End chose to do them at their community dinner. And then the third highlight for December, I just want to share. This slide is actually a slide I shared with you in October. It was the weekly chronic absenteeism report that we had at that time. And I highlighted for you that there were 4 schools that we were focusing on specifically to reduce the chronic absenteeism. So I just wanted to share with you an update to that in December, and you can see how that chronic absenteeism has reduced over these last couple of months. So I just wanted to celebrate that, and that's just comparing to weak views of the chronic absenteeism. Then for the kind of...
Can you just go back to that last slide?
Yeah.
For folks here, it's a little bit hard. So the colors stick out. It's a little hard for whatever reason in terms of how the screen's showing up today. Can you just take a minute and orient us? What's the bottom? What's the side colors?
Yes. So the blue is the same as the October report. So those numbers you can see, and the red is the marker for 15%. Chronic absenteeism rate, which is we'd like to get our schools below that rate. That's our target. The yellow, I only updated the data for 4 schools that we were paying particularly close attention to. And so those 4 schools, you can see just that there's been a reduction. Generally speaking, I mean, we're seeing reductions across the board, but these were worth noting. Any questions or things that...
Yeah, Board Member Redding, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a clarifying question on it. So School 2, School 4, School 6, School 7, and School 8, the data is not, you didn't pull that data?
I didn't pull that.
Presumably it's improved.
It has.
Based on.
They have all improved, but these were the 4 that we were focusing on.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just talk this a little bit? One of the things we want to make sure that we're doing with the data is acting on it. And so one of the things that Dr. Atkinson-Dwien has been really intentional about with her team is thinking about where are their priorities and where are we focusing our work. And so if you look at the 4 schools that have the yellow bars along with it, those are all 4 schools that are above the red line in October. And so that's where there were targets. And so then it was like, all right, let's narrow the focus for a little bit. And so that's what you see there. She is also monitoring across the board, but that's like, we're trying to like get it to be really actionable.
And just as a follow-up question to that, obviously on a student by student level, anybody who's experiencing chronic absenteeism would be getting interventions, correct? Super, thank you.
I have a question.
Sorry, I missed your hand. Go ahead, Vice Chair Bondo.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Angela. So I heard the superintendent mention about the focus on the priorities, and I think should be aligning with strategies. When I see those schools 1, 3, 5, and 9, maybe not today, maybe next time, Dr. Angela, if we can, bringing back also, okay, the focus and priorities, which kind of strategy really work well, which has shown those decrease. I think those combining together can give a better sense on the best approaches that we use to try to decrease that. Okay.
Yes, we can bring some more details about the strategies. We are using some slightly different strategies at some of the different schools so that we can kind of see where we're seeing the biggest impact. I would say across the board, one strategy that we're using, which is just kind of increasing communication around it. There are a couple things that we want parents to know that we're trying to communicate. One is especially for our early learners, that school matters, that sometimes it can be easy to dismiss that for kindergartens and first grade, but we really know that time in school matters. So we're trying to communicate that message. And then the other piece we're just trying to raise awareness. I think, if your child is missing maybe just one day a month, it can be easy to overlook. And so we're just trying to kind of highlight for parents that even one day a month really does matter. And so trying to bring some awareness to that. So that's kind of some similarity in some of their messages. But yes, we can come back to talk about more detail about the strategies.
Okay. So maybe something then, and I know when we see some of the best strategy which has bring more impact, can we have those like recordings? So we have that as a reminder, then we can apply that one to different aspects, like maybe moving, I was thinking like the secondary too. So if they can use those approaches which has been successful to the elementary school. So something just to think about it. Yes.
Absolutely. And we are in collaboration with them around this. So.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you, Dr. Angela.
And I just had, since we're talking so deeply about attendance, I'll ask my question now, which is, does it feel like the strategies that we're putting in place are operationalizing for always, or are they strategies that we employ when our numbers start to go up? And do we have capacity to do that?
So one of the kind of outcome goals or output goals we have for this year is kind of what I'm calling right now an attendance team playbook, so that we have we start the year and that this is the messaging we have in the beginning of the year. These are the strategies we have on hand for attendance teams to rely on, so that this is more of a routine thing, and that we just keep that going. And I will say those schools that you see that have the lowest chronic absenteeism, I would say are ones that have been able to keep up their routines over time. And so it just makes sense to provide the support and for all schools so that we can have all teams kind of have the same level the playing field that way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So I did just want to highlight the strategic focus for this month, the whole student connected community. You may remember, just want to situate this in our strategic plan. So our third kind of priority, whole student connected community. At the elementary level, the goal is 3.1 to increase the capacity of schools to create and implement whole school systems, SEL curriculum, and relationships that promote a joyful and supportive and safe school culture. So this month, I wanted to specifically highlight the SEL curriculum. Last spring, we took a review of our current social emotional learning curriculum and found wide variation in usage and commitment to that curriculum that's probably been around for about 10 years. Barrett has, I think, the history on that because he was one who who was involved in us adopting our first SEL curriculum. And I do, just as we start to get into this work, I do want to give a little bit of an introduction. We expect to propose and recommend a new curriculum in the spring. And so in this month, I'm just giving you a little bit of background information so that whenever that comes in the spring, you're more informed and more ready for it. So let's just for people who are at home who may not understand, what is social emotional learning? And so the way we describe it at PPS is that it's the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. We also like to remind folks that learning is social and learning is emotional. What is happening in our classroom has a lot to do with the way kids feel and the way they interact with each other. And so an intentional focus on this area is an acknowledgement of the kind of wholeness and uniqueness of students in our schools. I also invite you to think about what helped you to achieve your own dreams and goals as a person. And oftentimes we reflect back and we think, oh, it was these social emotional learning skills that helped me to achieve my goals and my dreams. So those are important. And the other thing people, wonder, well, does it really make a difference in schools? Does that that component really make a difference? And evidence has consistently shown that social emotional learning supports positive well-being and academic achievement. It has had a consistent positive impact. We've seen that brain science shows that social emotional and cognitive development are intertwined and integral to academic learning and success, that academic instruction that makes social and emotional connections with students results in deeper and longer term learning, and that years after students participated in SEL, their academic performance was an average of 13 percentile points higher. So it is a worthwhile investment in our schools. Whenever I just wanted to, when we talk about school-wide curriculum in particular, I just wanted to point out this is 10 indicators from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, or CASEL. And they have 10 indicators of high quality school-wide SEL. And so this SEL curriculum would address two of those criteria in particular. One, an explicit SEL instruction, that's important, and that SEL is integrated with academic instruction. So just wanted to highlight that, and then let you know some of the next steps in our timeline. This work is led by our Elementary Director of Culture and Climate, Joanna Frankel. So far, we have collected input from staff with nearly 200 responses for feedback related to selection criteria and implementation. Joanna has also done outreach to parents through PTOs. She'll be attending the District Family Partnership Committee to provide opportunities for input there. We formed a diverse curriculum selection committee representing a range of roles in schools, and that committee will establish the selection criteria, provide communication back to schools with progress updates, and then they'll be recommending a curriculum in the spring, so you would get an update then. And then just as for my final remarks, I have some invitations to fill a need, to enjoy some basketball, and to join a community dinner. One of our schools, Ocean Ave, has put out a call for waterproof snow glove donations, but I know that all of our schools could use some gloves. So if you have any new or gently used that you would like to donate, please do send them in. It makes it a lot easier for kids to enjoy our cold weather whenever they are warm. And the other thing, I just wanted to let you know that the Brzumpscott basketball season opener is January 10th. Don't miss the Dribbling Dragons versus the Tigers at 5 p.m. If you can't make that first game, there are some others, and I included the schedule here for you. And then lastly, just wanted to invite you to the Row Community Dinner on January 15th. Really have to thank our community partner, Wayside Kitchen, for help with this. And this is Row's first community dinner of the year. So we are excited to welcome you at that. If there's any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Board Member Bryden.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Atkinson-Duena. Super quick comment. The Talbot event was standing room only, mad science and pizza success. Super. I have questions about the SEL portion of the presentation. So the slide with the 10 indicators and the 2 that are in the rectangle, I am not sure that I want to make sure that I understood what you were saying. It sounded, and please correct me if I misunderstood, it sounded like you were saying the new curriculum that is being considered would hit 2 of the 10.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So whenever CASEL looks at a school-wide social emotional learning program, they identify these indicators, and it's a sign that it doesn't just come from curriculum. It comes from all, and I'm sorry, the graphic is a little hard for me to see even with my glasses on, but it just points to all the different ways that we create a strong social emotional environment for students. And so a curriculum will address all those in a number of ways, but you need a curriculum in order to address those 2 up there, I think, is what I would say.
That makes more sense. Thank you. So building off of that, I'm curious to have you talk a little bit more about current state, what folks are using for curriculum and what deficiencies there is in that would be ameliorated by moving to something new.
So the curriculum that's used at the elementary level is a second step curriculum, which is a strong evidence-based curriculum. It receives like strong ratings across the board. I would say we have seen some inconsistent implementation of that. And I think what we hear and what we got from the feedback in the spring was that folks felt like older elementary students did not respond as well to that curriculum. It's a curriculum that's been around for a while. I think there has been significant progress and new curriculum that have been out in the last 10 years since we've adopted Second Step. And I also think it has it's just time for us to refocus on it, they will continue to look at the current Second Step curriculum as if, do we want to continue with that? Given the feedback that we've received, I think there's an interest in changing. So that's why I'm kind of signaling that to you right now. Second Step is still a very good curriculum. I just think that people are interested in kind of energizing themselves with some new opportunities.
Sure. And so if the selection committee chooses to recommend a new curriculum, is it safe to say that would be in place for several years? Just thinking about the counterbalancing of, staff needing to learn new things all the time and that sort of longevity.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And there are all sorts of different ways, this is the charge of the committee as well, as far as recommendations around implementation, but there are some SEL curriculums that the first year is adults only. Which it's not uncommon to start that way. So it gets the adults on the same board, understanding the same language, have the concepts there before we even go into working with students on that. So, there are other different ways. Maybe we would start, with a certain grade levels, move up. We are being very mindful, especially at the elementary level, around the implementation fatigue that might be happening. So, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
But I appreciate absolutely.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm going to go to Vice Chair Bondo and then Board Member Aberman.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Atkins, can we stay on this slide? This is kind of my bias around the social emotional learning process, because I try to see what's the trauma-informed process being incorporated here. Are we going just to stay with those 10 indicators of the high quality school-wide? Especially where I say that, I just want to get my mind clear. When I say that, especially around the integrated with academic instructions. So we have a diversity of students coming from different areas. So that means when we go into that curriculum with the social learning, are we going to associate also the trauma-informed process of that? Or because I feel like those two should be intertwined. So I try just to see how can we have that one as another indicator as well, like internal indicators.
Yes.
In our aspect.
Yes. So we would. So one of the strategies we use for making sure that we are adopting high quality curriculum is we do look at sources that have already been vetted by other well-respected places. So Cassell, for instance, does do a rating system and recommends a certain set of curriculum. So that's one lens that we take on it. One of the criteria that they use in their review are around, is it trauma reformed? Is it culturally relevant to diverse population? So that's one step that we would take. And then having our own committee look at that with their set of what criteria that they need for our population. That would be another lens that we take. We've also we've talked to the committee, and also our education advisory committee that I work with Carrie Dowdy on has given us some feedback about wanting teachers to have an opportunity to try some parts of the curriculum in the spring, to give some feedback on that. So that, like, testing it out a little bit in the classroom as much as we could in the spring before we fully make our final recommendation, is another strategy that we're looking at to make sure that it does kind of meet the needs of our students.
Perfectly good. This is exactly what I'm expecting. So I will watch this closely, because we cannot have a fully impact without incorporating the trauma-informed, especially the cultural ones.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you,
Chair.
Vice Chair. Board Member Aberman.
When do you think you will know that you have the right curriculum?
They are hoping for kind of near the end of April, so that we have time for planning around the implementation.
Are we putting it in? Are you putting something into the budget to?
We are putting a placeholder into the budget, and we've gotten, Joanna has gotten several quotes from different places. Luckily, social emotional learning curriculum is not incredibly expensive as curriculum go. So I think that's
Positive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board Member Ali.
Yeah, just some clarifying questions. So firstly, is it only for elementary school, or is this all three?
So I would just focus on elementary schools. Dr. Ahmed, I know that they do have some programming around social emotional learning, but he would be able to answer more specifically to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Board Member Lena.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering about one of the orange circles, the authentic family partnerships. I actually had the opportunity to talk with Joanna Frankel at a PTO meeting, and I shared that as a parent, it would be great to be invited into the schools more in sort of smaller scale ways. It's wonderful having these big community dinners and things like that, or, the second grade end of the year party, but those end up being a big to-do. And I was wondering what's being done to have sort of like more intimate invitations to come see what, the classroom is doing in a kind of more informal, but also semi-formal way. Is there work being done that's aside from the adopting a new curriculum for the district?
I mean, my understanding, and maybe Dr. Scallon could also talk to this, is that we are looking at how we invite volunteers into our schools in general, and how we can create a robust experience for parents and volunteers in general. So I see that as work that we want to engage in. I have heard kind of similar feedback from a few other parents, and so I think it's work worth doing. And you may have, I don't know if you have any other details to add to that, Dr. Scallon.
I mean, I would just echo what you said and just maybe go one step further, which is to say that our strategic plan talks about this in a couple of different ways, where it talks about both opportunities around volunteering as well as parent engagement, both in terms of communication, opportunities to be in school. It talks about a range of it.
I'm going to ask a couple questions and then I'll come back to you. Is that all right? Great. One ask, I love the invitations that you're bringing us. Please keep doing that. And can we integrate them into board communications so that we can do it there? Because by the time I get home, then I forget and I don't.
Will do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that would be
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
because I
the
would love to get to those things that are.
And you mean the weekly ones that come out? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, kind of like over my first couple of years on the board, just heard from so many teachers about the fatigue implementation that you were talking about. And so I feel nervous about a new curriculum. And I think the other thing that I heard a lot from educators was it felt like there was a separation between the decision makers and the implementers. And it sounds like that there are things that you're doing to kind of address that. But I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit deeper about how you're making sure that the people that are implementing the curriculums are being included in the decision making, and kind of like, what does that committee look like that exists right now? Does it have people at all different levels of power and positionality within the district?
So I will tell you, one of the reasons we did the survey in the spring to review that was we really wanted to see if there was an interest from teachers in changing the curriculum, or if that was just something that we were like hearing from other places. So I would not, if we did not consistently hear from teachers that they were ready for a new curriculum in social emotional learning, I would have been much more reluctant to do another curriculum. I think the other thing that we found is in trying, because we have the choice of to trying to keep working with what we have or to have a new one, and trying to keep working with what we have has been hard because people are not invested or committed to it. And I think, so that means kids end up missing out. And so that's another reason why we have, because we could just say, okay, well, we're going to really go hard on making sure everybody does this and do it and get the social emotional learning curriculum that way with what we have. But it's I don't think we have people on board for that either. So that I think, when we thought about that in the spring, we said, okay, let's do that. The committee has, I don't know exactly, but I know we have it's almost all school-focused people. We have, I think, 3 teachers. There's some culture and climate coordinators. There's social work representatives on there. So there's special ed representatives on there. There's a pre-K teacher on that. So we have really we feel like it's a good representative committee. We're doing another survey recently to get input from a broader range of teachers who weren't interested in the committee, but did want to give some input, doing it that way. And just, we're going to try and keep up with the communication and work that way. But I feel like where we're hearing the implementation issues really is primarily around one curriculum, the ELA curriculum, which it's admittedly a harder one to adapt. I also want to say that it is, it's high standards for kids, and I think it's what we want kids to be taught. So, and we just had started our middle of the year walkthroughs that we do as a district. And I would say, like, that we still hear a few grumbles and some grumbles here around it. So I'm not going to say it's all like, yay, yet, but it's definitely is significantly reduced compared to last year. I think people are feeling more comfortable with it. We see that in the classroom with people feeling more comfortable with it, but it is still a lot of work. I mean, I mentioned the Educator Advisory Committee with Carrie and Dowdy and I led. Our most recent meeting did talk specifically around curriculum. We came away with some good ideas about how we can have the instructional coaches provide some scaffolds for teachers for next year to make those units a little bit more manageable. So we're trying to be responsive on that, but yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk through all of those elements. And also, as a kiddo who is experiencing the EL curriculum for the first time, I see him experiencing a rigor that is really exciting, not necessarily to him at first, but then like once he locks in, the gains that he's getting are really exciting. So I just appreciate all of those anecdotes that you shared. And Board Member Bryden.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief, but I wanted to follow up to the conversation that came out of Board Member Ali's question about social emotional learning across the arc of a student's experience in the district, and just voice a little bit of feeling unsettled that the answer is that it's fragmented. Particularly, you alluded to the fact that maybe fifth graders don't really engage with curriculum the same way kindergarten and first graders do. So as students sort of evolve over the course of their experience, I would so welcome an approach, that sort of like acknowledges that as they grow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Board Member Ali.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I ran for office was specifically around mental health and how our community has been affected in mental health in so many different ways, and especially emotional health, and how that's not even touched base upon. What's the difference, right? So I really appreciate that you guys are putting this curriculum in, and I hope that whoever's listening is able to really take this serious, and all the teachers that are going to be part of this. And just thank you. So.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to move us to the report of the secretary. So we have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of December 17th, 2024. Are there any corrections from the board to the meeting minutes from December 17th, 2024? Okay, I see no corrections, so the minutes are approved as distributed. And then we have consent items. Superintendent, are you doing consent items tonight?
I can.
Yeah.
I forgot about them.
It's a good list tonight.
We used to Aaron. Per policy KCD, the board is required to formally accept gifts or bequests of a durable nature, of substantial value, or of historic or commemorative significance. The Gerald E. Talbot Community School received the following donations. Order of the Eastern Star donated knitted mittens, gloves, and hats. Stevens Avenue Congregational Church donated snack items, school supplies, backpacks, and snacks. Spare Time Entertainment donated school supplies. Portland Chiropractic Neurology donated school supplies. Portland Water District donated 300 water bottles for students. Bill Kowalski and Jody Holliday donated snow pants, gloves, and jackets. Isabel O'Connor donated cases of bottled water. And Mario Flamenco Poliano and Iris Vasquez Portillo donated smart pads, books, magnetic books, Play-Doh, and various other toys.
Awesome. Thank you all for those contributions. And if you bring in waterproof gloves to any of the elementary schools, you too could get your name on the list and have it read out by Superintendent Scallon. Beautiful. And then we have some old business tonight, which is the consideration and action to approve the proposed naming of Ocean Avenue Elementary Library to Meghan, Mellor, Trulaske, Miers. I know Andy Summers is out this week. Is someone speaking to this motion in her behalf?
We'd presented it before, and the question that had come up last time was from Board Member Ali, and we had shared out in the board update as well as on board docs the small blurb about the gift, and so just wanted to make sure you'd seen that, and so happy to take questions, but then otherwise would defer back to you.
Beautiful. And I did just want to remind the board that Board Member Noor had suggested that we then also update the policy about naming things so it becomes clear about naming smaller spaces that aren't a whole building.
And that's on the agenda for next week, if that agenda happens.
Opperman, good work. Any other questions regarding, well, actually, I'm going to bring the motion to the floor and then we can get into questions. So do I have a motion for the consideration and action to approve proposed naming of Ocean Avenue Elementary Library to Meghan, Mellor, Trulaske, Miers? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. A second, I'm going to give that to Board Member Yusra Ali. Are there any questions from the board on this motion?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Wait for the discussion portion to
Sorry.
bring a comment. No, that's totally fine. Any public comment on this motion? Just double check Zoom. Okay, I see no public comment. Any general discussion from the board? This would be a time for a comment. Board Member Ali, go ahead.
Yes, I remember last time I asked Andrea Summers, I believe, for some more information about Meghan Miers. I'm gonna skip the two middle.
Yep.
And I, just out of respect for myself, because I can't read it. But yeah, after reading and seeing how hard she's been working towards volunteering at the school and how much energy she was putting towards it, and a lot of the philanthropic work that she's put towards it. I think that after reading this, it makes sense, and I think it's a good idea.
Beautiful. Thank you for that comment. And just tonight, as we've been going through all the different parts of the agenda, I think like community engagement and connection has come up several times. And I just really think that is the direction our district is moving, which is a really lovely and exciting one. And I think that this commemoration really kind of puts an anchor in that. So I definitely will be voting for this tonight. Any other comments or discussion from the board? Okay, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the proposed naming of Ocean Avenue Elementary Library to Meghan, Mellor, Trulaske, Miers Library. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Me? Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor? Member Opperman?
Yes.
Our student representatives are not here at this point, and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so those present voted unanimously for the new name of the library. Congratulations. And just thank you so much for your support, Meghan's family, for our district. And with that, I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Board Member Bryden, you're quick on the whatever that is tonight. Thank you for being quick. All those in favor? All right, we are adjourned at 7:53 p.m.